Yeah, so Better Questions fam. We're doing a lot of new things. We're going to keep doing new things. So Steven, quick history. I told my producer, Jules, I said, look, we need to get some other hosts. I don't want to be a podcaster. I want to build a platform for other podcasters. And he was one of the few that answered the call. And so we've just been live in 5 discussing what an arrangement would look like. He's a fascinating guy. There was more that we didn't get to that I wanted to get to. Summary would be, I prayed over his sister and I maybe shouldn't have. That was wild. We talked a little bit about religion. We talked about mindfulness, Wim Hof breathing. We talked about addiction. I'm trying to think of what else. We talked about video games. I think we covered a broad spectrum here, maybe a little bouncy. We talked about what it would look like for him to come and host the show. So really curious about everybody's thoughts of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, because that will not be the last time that he's going to show his face on this podcast. And he may or may not be hosting some shows, so that could be interesting. We had talked about, you co-hosting, participating and all, and I would love that. My goal is really to build this to give it back. But at the thing that gets tricky is, I'm Jules knows this all too well. I'm just in the red right now. So I'm in the red. We don't have following. So as far as monetarily, I would love to get it established and then be able to bring you in and then be able to chart your growth, but we haven't promoted, we haven't done anything. So I'm open. I don't know where you want to be. I don't know if it's something. Yeah. So I would love for you to participate. I don't know right now. I don't know if timing is, I prefer you to participate now. As far as compensation, I don't want to ask you for charity. I just don't know how we would, I don't know, as we're building how it goes.
How it works.
Yeah. So, but yeah. I'm very open. If you have any idea, I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, I was thinking quite a lot about it. And I was thinking that, in terms of the ability to get on guests, I in terms of research, being able to get the right kind of people on, I would struggle with the time to get the right kind of people on. But when it comes to actually getting the guests on, and I know who it is that I'm speaking to, that's not a problem. I can do the research in that regard. I can learn lots about them and learn what kind of questions would be best to ask them in terms of really getting to know them and what they're about. That's fine. That will work absolutely fine. But I think it's the setup, as it were.
Yeah.
And then, in terms of compensation, in terms of monetarily, I appreciate that we're kicking off from the ground up, and it's building that following first and foremost. And that will take time. And then as things start to grow, and I guess also the other thing is it's working out, as we were saying last time, in terms of how to finance it. Would you look at things like advertising? But then the problem is then you're in that danger of you're going to be getting certain types of advertising in, which then might could influence certain decisions on podcast guests and what you talk about. It's a really, really fine line for sure. It's really difficult.
Yeah. Well, so if I were to do this again, I would have played a little bit more normal ball. But yeah, I think I'm very open to sponsors, but I just will not, we won't placate to them. They have to know that we won't placate to them, and if I don't believe in the company, that doesn't matter how many dollars they offer. They're not, it's just, that's my only stipulation. So we're working on that now. We are working on that now, but it's one of those chicken or the egg things, right? So I think Jules is dropping a recording soon, and we're going to start promoting, and I think we can get a better viewership number. Really, I really think we're a couple weeks away from seeing numbers that will speak to sponsors. But yeah, I'm very open. Ideally for me, just to give a little color, I think I outlined about eight series within Better Questions, all for which should be their own show. So, I mean, ultimately, I believe this evolves into a network, and then they've got their own sub series. And target for me would be to bring you're established, so you don't need me, right? So it'd be fun to build with you, but target for me would be go to find. I'm trying to think of the right term. I'm going to say a goofball, right? So a goofball that's like, I want a podcast, like that needs a little help, right? And it's like, okay, like let us put you on a path that like sounds like success. First and foremost, like, can you have a conversation very well, or whatever? It's like, leave that roadmap. So that's what's ultimately desirable to me. Why am I saying all that? So I don't know. Yeah, I guess. There you go. That's what. And my vision of this is to be kind of a network. I think of. And I'm sorry if I've already told you this, but I think of what is Shapiro Daily Wire, as Daily Wire is to right-wing conservative media. I'd like to be to common sense thinking. Like that's the idea. And I want to cover a broad spectrum. And I'm so excited. I don't know. I think I scared Jules and Mackenzie that's helping me. I was like, they're going to kill me probably, but dude, I want to dive in on all the conspiracies, bro. I think conspiracy thinking is like questioning the narrative. Like that should be encouraged, not diminished. So, anyway, there's a bunch of ways that we can go with it. So yeah, I mean, if you're like, hey, I'm down to ride, then I'm good with like, I don't know what it looks like as far as how do we get you paid? I'm very more open to that conversation after I get myself flush. Like once I get even, this whole project, it drives me nuts. I don't think Jules understands. I don't like losing ever. I don't put losses next to my fucking name. So like, it's taken me too long to get even. If I was even, it's like, hey, here's a couple bucks for the episode and we go. But I just got to get myself back to, I hate losing money, which is stupid. Money it's fine, but it drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm. But I get it. I totally get that. Particularly if it's something that you want to do well and you want to get it right. You don't want to start off on a particular footing where you feel like, oh, okay. Yeah, you look at the balance sheet and you go, is this right? Is this the right way to go forward? I get it. I totally get it.
I jacked it up, dude. I thought I was a little overly revolutionary. I should have played the common ball for the beginning, and then I could go and adapt. But I don't know. I think we talked about it last time. It's just, I think it's people subscribing to a person is weird. And then ads piss me off. I think ads really upset me, but, so I didn't want to start out gross, but I probably should have. If I did it over again, I'd start out gross and then I shouldn't say it that way. But anyway, we're learning, right? So
I think that's the biggest thing as well, is that I think people will come along with you for the ride when we're open and honest about the fact that it's going to develop. You're coming with us for this story, that we are developing this brand and we're developing the type of guests that we're getting on based on the fact of us taking on what works, what doesn't work, as opposed to adverts, as opposed to, as you said, certain sponsors perhaps, or backers that have a certain angle. We're trying something different, that's good. And I think that's interesting for people.
Yeah. No, I like what you say. I mean, you're right.
So, yeah, that makes sense to me.
And then, so what I'm hearing is, hey, I'm down to run interviews. I'm finding guests is not going to be something I got time or space for. Totally cool. I know we spoke last time, but did you have your area of intrigue? Where is what's the question you most want to be having?
Really, really good question.
I want to say, as an ignorant American that slept in on you and all, I do remember that you told me this already. I just don't remember exactly what it was. So
no, that's okay. That's fine. I think what I touched on last time was what makes people tick. That for me, I'm talking about people that are, yeah, higher profile, but also people that have been successful in their lives, whether that's monetarily, whether, success looks like many different things to lots of different people. But, for instance, people that are very good at, say, sports, and the idea of like not only what drives them, but like what it is that perhaps happened in the younger lives of those people that has really got them to where they are today, and how they maintain that, I think, as well. That for me is something that's incredibly interesting. And I think from that point, you can go down, whether it was fatherly figures, motherly figures, whether a certain culture that was built up at the time, certain generations, which I think is really interesting, particularly at the moment, because, I mean, interesting for me because I've got two daughters. I'm starting to see almost on a subconscious level the difference between generations, whether it's 10 years, 15 years. And I think it's becoming more and more extreme as time goes on. Like in our country at the moment, for instance, the idea that someone of my age owns a property, that is becoming a pipe dream. And like that, if you go back a generation, 15 years, 20 years, that was the norm. That was the necessity, that you work hard, you get married, settle down, and then you put a deposit down on a place and you build a family. Now that is no longer the case, and we have a huge percentage of my generation that, like my two sisters, they still live with my mum. There's so many people that are in their 30s, 40s that are still in that situation, and so it just seems like, because of technology, because everything is moving so quickly, the vast changes in generations is becoming more and more exaggerated and highlighted. And for me, things like that will have an effect on people's mindsets, on their personalities and what they do in life. And so I find, looking at people like that, I say sports, it doesn't necessarily have to be sports, but I find sports people interesting because you are giving up absolutely everything in order to just feed this addiction, to something that is your identity more than anything. And more than that, it's winning. And it's interesting to see what that does to a person long term. Yeah, that's kind of it, really. It's looking at what the ingredients are in the beginning in order to get people to where they are, if that makes sense.
Got it. So you're talking about, generally speaking, the highly successful in anything, but particularly sport, and what laid the foundation for them to go and do what they're doing versus people that, I don't want to say it this way, but I guess reconcile that to the property ownership issue. How do those relate?
I was using that more as just an example of how the way that people develop, a big part of that is based on their societal surroundings and what is a norm and what's seen as like a realistic goal and something to aim at moving forward. And it seems like more and more something like that isn't the case. And so what does that then do to an average person? Do they then go, okay, well, this 9-to-5 thing's not paying. It's not going to get me the life that I want. Okay, so what's it going to be? Is it going to be, is it going to be something more extreme? You see a lot of women on Pornhub, and stuff like that, as a way to just get in a huge amount of money alongside what you would call like a 9-to-5, or part-time work. Perhaps they've already got kids or something like that. It just seems like what I'm trying to say is the parameters of people's goals and the realistic expectations of their goals is seeming further and further away from reality. And so the idea of a side hustle that is almost becoming the norm, just to get close to having the ability to put down a deposit on and we're not talking anything grand. It's more sometimes just so someone can get on the housing market. It could be just an apartment somewhere, just to say that they have somewhere where they can, lay their hat. I think that's what I was trying to get to, is that what does the changes in society, what that does to people and individuals, and whether I'm interested at whether we are going to get more extreme types of people, who will go to the nth degree in order to, get something that at one point was just considered like a necessity, but something that would be okay, that would be all right for people to achieve. So yeah, it's stuff like that. And I think I mentioned sports because I find sports people, particularly extreme sports. I know that you have an interest in extreme sports as well, but I think for me, like, I know I'm recently going on topic, but slightly off, speaking about a specific example. Felix Baumgartner recently passed away, and he was at one point, he held the record for the highest free fall dive, and he was literally on the edge of space. And I think he did it on in partnership with Red Bull. And this is a guy who did, squirrel jumps, base jumps, he did all kinds of mad stuff. And this is a man who has a family, has kids, and he recently died because I think he was paragliding, and I think he basically crashed into like a hotel complex. And I can't remember whereabouts it was in the world, but I just felt reading it, I just felt really like quite upset and quite shocked, really, even though he's a daredevil, even though he's someone who cannot do anything but do this. It's just interesting how that person has become who they are, even though they've got family, even though they've got kids, they've got all those sort of the responsibilities of, having a family, living a life and wanting the best for their children and generally just wanting to do well. He also has to be true to himself. And, I think he was in his mid-40s when he died. And for me, it really hit something. I just felt like, wow, that person, even though he's been incredibly successful and done huge things with his life, for him, the drive was always and will always be there until he dies. Yeah, I found it really interesting. And so for me, a character like that, it'd be great to learn about, like, at what point did that all come to fruition,
Oh, this is good. You're giving me. Did you know I was an extreme sports guy? Did we talk about that already? Are you placating to me? Are you placating to me?
I did my research.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I remember speaking to Jules, and she was talking about topics that we could potentially look at, and she mentioned that you were into extreme.
Did we talk about OnlyFans and Pornhub too, or is that?
No, we didn't. No, that was just something. I was just using that as an example.
I'm freaking dying to talk. And Mackenzie, when you listen to this, like, I got my assistant. I just want to talk to an OnlyFans. I just want to know one simple question, like, if you could give it all up, and it was a little less, or what is the money difference if you could give it all up to have a man that loves you? Would you do it? If you just a good man that fits the bill, would you do it? I just want to know that. Dear OnlyFans models, you can come on anonymously, please. I just want to have a conversation about your trade. But so you're good. This is getting my wheels turning. So what I would say, what it'd be fun is, like, I was trying to figure out, because, like, when I find somebody, I'm gonna want to talk to them. So I was like, but I don't want to do all the talking. So when you feel prompted, because I think a series about extreme athletes that die doing that would be really life-giving to go tell those stories again and tell it through their friends. And, like, obviously we're not going to talk to Mrs. Baumgartner right now if it was recent, but the ones that are old, it's probably life-giving to go, like, it's like, and I think they live on, right? These people, legends live on through story, through fable. So that would be fun. So if you have, I would just say, I don't know if you're an emailer or not, but if you want to just, like, because for me, what's fun is going to get people, and what's really fun is going to get people for other people. Like when it's for myself, I fucking hate selling. It's like, come talk to me on my. It's like, hey, my co-host we're doing this series. Like, we'd love to talk to everybody, any and all. Because anyway, so that would be fun. So I would just ask you if you can participate at that level of like, I'd love to talk to this person, because that'll give me, okay, we might not get this person, but we can get that person, and like I can go facilitate that. That side of it is actually more fun than the conversation. That's not. I like to get to people, so that's cool.
Yeah. Sure, that's fine. That's absolutely doable. You know, for me, there's plenty of extreme sports that people don't even really know about. That even don't. It's not like people go into extreme sports necessarily for fame. Some do, but then others, it is just a drive. You know, that they found something which touches something that isn't monetary. It's almost spiritual. And, you know, for another example is, I wouldn't be able to give you a name right now, but free divers, people that, you know, are able to hold their breath for
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
It's crazy.
You know, crazy, absolutely crazy.
Have you heard the story about a dude that fasted, just water fast, for 411 days? I just read about this yesterday. I don't know if it's fake news or not.
Gosh, wow.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise. I mean, gosh, it wouldn't surprise me. There's plenty of examples of people doing things like that, where they go into these states where I think for the average person, you go, no way, that's just not possible. But you don't know when people are. They're living and breathing that world. Well, not in the case of freediving, but you know, I did quite a bit of Wim Hof during the pandemic, and had I not done that and learned what it is to do the cycles of breathing and getting oxygen in my body and learning not to breathe, I would never ever have said that a person could realistically do 10, 20, even 30 minutes of no breathing at all. But it was only when I started to look into it, because I was noticing such an increase. I got to 9 minutes without breathing, which was just ridiculous. And I would never have thought that at the very beginning of it all. But then looking into, you know, different YouTube videos of athletes that do this, you know, for their careers, it's absolutely amazing, absolutely incredible. I think the chap that I think that broke a world record, I think he basically laid at the bottom of a 3 meter deep pool, and I think it was around that 30-minute mark, and it's incredible, absolutely incredible. But there is something spiritual there as well. I do feel that people, you know, for a lot of people, the thought of whether it's at the bottom of a pool or going down very deep into the ocean, the thought of that is incredibly claustrophobic and very scary. But for a certain type of person, they talk about the silence, the switching off from the world, you know, going into a deeper sense of themselves. It's incredible.
So let's do really quick. So, because I'm fascinated, I actually, I don't hold it's one of the, I do a lot of things well. I don't. Breath work is not one of them. I mean, I understand box breathing, but my buddy got on it. For the audience that may or may not listen, quick elevator speech about Wim Hof. He has a book. And then if you want to be lazy, is there a TLDR of how to do the work, or no? Do you need to go, and how do you consume Wim Hof? Who is Wim Hof, first of all?
Wim Hof, he gained a lot of popularity, I think, during the pandemic as someone who uses cold water therapy to de-stress and give a huge amount of positive benefits to mental as well as physical well-being. And so he's been doing it for years. He's broken all kinds of records for being someone who will go and immerse himself in extremely cold temperatures and be absolutely fine. And his argument is that our ancestors were people that had to put up with these kind of temperatures and didn't have the luxuries of what we have now. And by learning those things again, we're more likely to stave off certain conditions, certain illnesses, you know, not completely become invincible, but your immune system will be what some people might say is almost like a supercharged, or it will become a bit more robust. So alongside the cold water is breathing, and I know from his background he does, or he has done for a long time, a lot of work with yoga and meditative breathing. And I think from his experiences, I think working and living in India, he came up with this routine of breathing, which is readily available online. I mean, I got it through doing a course through his website, but if you were to go on YouTube or whatever, then you would be able to find the cycles that he talks about. And it's incredible. It's really good. If you practice it, it really does have a profound effect on not only how your mind levels out, I would say, in my experience afterwards, and how your perception changes, but also what it does to your body. I find that my body feels a lot more energized.
So if I'm I'm speaking on behalf of all the ADD business. I'm speaking on all behalf of the ADDs that can't do. So Wim Hof, what I heard you say is like, so this guy, and I know a little bit about him, but he's found that a more durable and resilient human can be built if they do these cold water treatments, and particularly breathing. And then what you didn't say that I remember is he can change his body temperature through just breath work, right? Can't he regulate his body? He can change his body by 10 to 20 degrees or something crazy?
I believe so. Yeah.
And then I guess the question I would have is, who would you recommend? Who's this good for? So is this good for anxious people? This is good for depressed people? This is good for all people? This is people that are worried about longevity? Or and how did you come to find him? My buddy found him. I'm going to ask him the same question. But, and then final is should I cheat? Is it a simple, Steven can give me this is the script, or do I need to read a book, or do I need to take his class to maximize effects, would you say?
I think if you were to take the very basis of what he does, I think that would be enough. I mean, if you then found a real interest in it, and you noticed a bit of a change in your mindset, but as well as your physical well-being, I think that then looking more into some of his work by purchasing one of his books, or he has courses as well that focus on that, both of those concepts and how you build yourself up over time. That can improve, the overall experience. But I would say at the very, very basis of it all, the idea that you can, if you take something like yoga nidra, which is, I don't know if you've heard of yoga nidra or practiced it. Mm-hmm. The idea is that you lie down and you go through breath work, you go into a semi-subconscious state, akin to sleep. But you do it for 20 minutes, and the idea is that your brain goes into a level where you aren't necessarily asleep, but you are getting very short benefits of what you might call a power nap, or just something where you can then just get that extra little bit of energy that you need, perhaps in an afternoon or an evening, where you're feeling fatigued, feeling tired. And really, a lot of it is just relaxing your body, relaxing your muscles, focusing on your breath, how it goes in, how it goes out, through the nose and out through the mouth, I believe it is. And it's working on focus on different parts of your body, and imagining that you are breathing oxygen and energy into each part of your body. And they call it almost a scanning, and you work your way through your body. And that usually is about 15, 20 minutes. That tends to be sort of the norm for people, but you can do it for hours. You can do it for a long, long time. So it's taking a concept like that, and through breathing, you are, in essence, giving more oxygen to your body, which when people say go and exercise to make yourself feel less tired, a big part of that is breathing. It's breathing and taking in more breath. And at the very, very basis, whether you choose to do Wim Hof or not, the idea that you have a moment in the day where perhaps you're feeling overwhelmed, your mind is all over the place. Perhaps you might suffer from panic attacks, anxiety. It could be a number of different things, whether you're going through something like grief or, whatever it might be. Just having a moment where you are connecting to your breath, it is going to bring you down, because that's just a physiological reaction. By doing that, by taking those kind of breaths in, it is going to lower your heart rate, whether you like it or not, and it will bring you further down and calm you. And it's just then, depending on what practice you do and what works for you, then from that point, you'll notice the different things that really, really put you in a great way, which is great. That's ultimately at the very basis of it. If whatever the results are, if you get something like that, and it gives you those positive benefits, that's great. That's superb. And it costs nothing,
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to look into it. I'm going to be a testimony myself. So let's, I think breathwork is incredible. Anyway, there's so much. I guess let's do, because we made it weird. I made it weird last time. You interviewed me. You got to know me, which was fun. So let's do a intro to Steven mid-stat here. If that's anything else to talk about, what I heard you say, and I guess I'm not a contract guy, is like, hey, let me come build this with you and we figure out the dollars later. And you're down to do that. Is that correct? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I appreciate at the very, very beginning of these things, we just don't know, and that's exciting, but also, we just have to just work it out as we go on. That's absolutely fine by me.
Okay, cool.
That's good.
And then what we'll do is we'll just, and like all my, if this gets recorded, like we call them in business world, we call them like are you familiar with disc profile? Like the C, are you familiar with disc at all?
No, I'm not.
And I'm gonna do a series. Mark my freaking words. Like Mackenzie, when you listen to this, I'm gonna do there's all these goddamn people assessments. You can take 16 of them. It pisses me off to no end. It's like but disc. So there's like D's are drivers. So you get two, like DI is like I is heavy. Like I'm so I'm a DI, right? I like to be. I'm an interactive. I'm an interpersonal. I'm a driver, but I'm an interpersonal. And then S's are typically like the lay person, and not. And then so there's typically like the DI profile, and then the CD profile. And the CDs are the analytical. Like you don't fucking do anything without a contract. You get it out, and like I think Jules is probably smiling. Jules has an inner C that I don't. I like, and it's like so. All my C friends are like, these psychos are going to go do this, and then they're going to get in a bad arrangement, and this is going to be a legal battle. And blah. I was like, no, we'll figure it out later. When I get to 0, we'll talk again. How about that? That's where I'm. And sure. That's the contract, and it's recorded, so I'm good. They're really interesting to have your team do them too, because everybody. But anyway, I don't love it. I don't think it's the greatest assessment. We're going to have a better one probably one day. But all that to say, as long as on the business side of the house, we're good. And then we'll just see, man. I don't know if you're going to do 10 episodes. I don't know if you're going to do 2. I don't know if we're going to have a following. But I do know that when I get to 0, everything's better. I'm just trying to get back to, I'm on the race to 0. So that's when we'll pick it back up. So for now, I guess I'm going to be like, hey, what's up, Steven, future and current co-host of BQ? Let's tell your story. So, and I don't think we did that last time. So, like, just I know you're in radio broadcast. I know you have 2 daughters. I know you're in United Kingdom, and then after that, pretend I know nothing and give me the full script.
Absolutely, great stuff. Yes. My name's Steven Spencer, and I'm a voice actor, and I've been a voice actor for the last 9 years. I come from an acting background. And I spent a good few years doing lots of different theatre worldwide, West End in London, bits of TV, bits of film. But I always felt like that there was a part of my life that wasn't being ticked off. And I would find that I was most lit up when I was actually chatting to individuals that weren't necessarily part of my profession. I found that a lot of the time, people's stories and the people's stories that creatives would get a hold on and create fantastic art with, I was more interested in finding out those people's stories and learning about people's lives and what they're all about. So almost the first base, as it were. And I used to do that with films, TV, audio dramas, documentaries. I would always watch it and appreciate it for what it was. But the only thing I would always be aware of, coming from my background, was it's fictionalized to a certain point. The whole based on a true story. There's different percentages of what based means. So I would always sort of look at what was behind the story, what was factual, and then try and learn a bit more about that person and work out what was true, really true, and what wasn't, and what was taken and run with for dramatic effect, which there's a purpose for it because, people connect with it a lot more, and you don't have all of the other little bits that aren't so interesting. But for me, that creates the person. And so for me, I really enjoyed that. And I've always wanted to get into the type of medium, the type of platform that allows me to learn more about people. I think doing voiceover work has been fantastic. I've learned so much about myself, but also a huge range of topics in industry purely because I do commercial work, I do corporate work, video games, animation, ADR and dubbing. And every single time it's a new project and it's something different. And because of, a particular character that I have to play or, say, particular narrative script that I have to do history on those pieces. I have to learn a bit more about the research. Why are they speaking with that particular dialect? Why are they using this type of language? What does that word mean? And so I love to sort of delve into the stories and the people. And so when I had the opportunity to come on to a podcast like this, I decided, I'd love to take it and run with it, really, because for me, although I love performing, I absolutely love it. And I love voiceover work. It's given me so many opportunities, and I wouldn't live my life without it. There's also something really, really satisfying about the life without necessarily putting on a performance. There's something wonderful about the real life, real world, and real connections.
There it
so
is.
Yeah, that's me really in a nutshell.
I was gonna, you went deep on one thing and fast forward a lot of things. How old are you? You're not supposed to ask.
38.
That. Okay, so 38, and you are in, I don't know, what do you guys have, parishes over there? United Kingdom. I'm an ignorant American. What part of UK are you in?
I'm just outside of London. In fact, me and Jules were just saying that, we used to live in the similar sort of area of London.
Okay, got it. And that was what, did you and Jules, are you a stranger to Jules, or do you knew Jules?
Yeah, complete stranger. So Jules reached out and on LinkedIn, and I've been hitting LinkedIn for a good while, and it just seemed like a great opportunity if it worked.
So we put up and said, "Hey, do you want to come co-host?" And you were one of the chosen. You responded to the call. All right, cool. So then that's awesome. That makes me really happy. Just, I don't know why. I love when a network expands rather than abusing an existing network. But so I want to talk about your career a little bit more, but I also want to talk about what got you to your career. And then you mention it, and I don't know if you'll let me go there, but COVID seems to be a big moment for you. There seems to be a Steven transformation in or around that period. If I'm reading right. So just give me young Steven, you go to school, how do you become a voice actor, all that, and then walk me through if I'm keying in right or if I'm missing something on the trend. I feel like there was a transformation moment for you in your recent years.
Yeah, for sure. Growing up, I grew up on the very edge of London, a place called Upminster, and it was and still is, quite middle class, quite, quite run of the mill. And, but at the same time, it was a very safe upbringing, very, very, I would say, encouraging. And yeah, my parents, they're both from the East End of London. They both come from the part of London that was bombed to hell, during World War II. So my family mainly are full of, so many people that their identities were built by that, this sort of survivor identity, us against the world. And, but at the same time, people that were very fair, as long as people were playing by the rules. Yeah, no problem at all. That they would get on with anyone. But they were full of life, full of energy. And, I notice it more now as time goes on, how much of a party and how much they would enjoy joy in life compared to the normal person. And I always just took that as the norm. But, the parties that we would have, this was when I was, probably about 8, 9, 10 years old. Sometimes they would go on for days, and they would, people would be family members from London, the East End that were still there, people that had moved out, they would come, and it was just any excuse, and the dancing would go on for hours and hours and hours. Drink would flow, all kinds of stuff. It was just, but really just joyous, really happy. I think it comes from a place of like when your life is really put to the edge, there's certain people that really just once they reclaim life and that sense of safety, they just run with it and they want to savor every single moment, which yeah, I think that is a big part of my identity. But I think it's something that I've wrestled with growing up, getting older, is because I've always been seen as an extremist because of that. And I think that, whether it was alcohol, whether it's the next high growing up, whether that was through sport, traveling, I did some crazy stuff traveling, whether it was, buying a motorbike and learning to drive it and then going through the Andes and Latin America, one time I ran out of petrol going down a mountain, so I just had to coast the whole thing, in minus 15 conditions, just stupid. Like a lot of people would be like, what is wrong with you? But I think I was brought up with a sense of just that being the norm. And I think as I've got older, I think I've realized, and particularly around the pandemic, I think I've realized that, that isn't the norm. And I think what happened was my dad died just before the pandemic. And that for me, he died quite young. And I think for me, it made me just sit back and take stock of okay, life is for living, absolutely. But also you don't have to live like this. And I think because I came from a family where it was celebrated, I think I was always perhaps thinking that I had that to live up to. And I think where my dad went, I think, I spent a lot of time with my wife, but a lot of time in our flat on our own, not able to go anywhere. And I think it was, in terms of a transformation, for me, it felt like for the first time, I was then starting to wrestle with this idea of not having to be or live to a certain level of extremity that I had become accustomed to for a long time. And perhaps that was getting in the way of me and my happiness overall. And I think I've continued to learn that more and more and more as time's gone on, particularly with kids, because it forces you to change who your day-to-day life, who you are, and take on more responsibility, which is great. There's times when I'm like, wow, gosh, I had so much free time back then, so much social time, time to, build in different ways, whatever career it was that I would want. But for me, I think it's a continuing lesson that I'm learning. It's just that, that there is joy and there's fun to be had, but it doesn't have to be at the detriment of my own body, at my own health, and I think that's something that I really hit when I got to the pandemic.
How old are your girls?
1 and 3. Yeah.
Names?
Astrid, 3-year-old.
I hope you don't mind if that's online. Is that okay that I asked that?
No, that's okay. Astrid, yeah, and Violet, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, 1-year-old.
And so 1 and 3 in pandemic is now, 5 years old. So when would you say, and I'm very interested, I relate much to the extremist tendency. Would you say, I want to chart that. So dad passes and you realize that there might be more to life than having to be so extreme. Is that more or less? And then would you say that you found, so historically, I'm going to call it pre-revelation. I think it's a revelation. You had a premonition, revelation, whatever it was. Pre-revelation, doing something, pushing some type of bounds was a requirement for optimal fulfillment, right? Something in your mind worked that way. I'm gathering. Might be relatable. I don't know. And then, and then you have this realization that like pushing the bounds maybe doesn't have to be a requirement for you to have fun. Are you able, prior to kids, were you able to actually come to a place of less extremist and more abundance? Did you get there, or was that not until kids?
No, it came, I would say, probably about 1 year to 2 years before kids. And I just, for me, it I'm sure there might be some people that are listening that might just go, oh, he just grew up. But I don't I was going to say, but I don't think it. I think I know for instance, I have a lot of addiction in my family. I'm sure that my sister wouldn't mind me saying this, but she does struggle with addiction, I should say. Particularly with alcohol. But across the board, there are issues with addiction, and we've always grown up with that as being, again, the norm. And I think for me, and I see it with certain friends that I have that have come from a similar background that also struggle with it. Not necessarily alcohol, I mean, in some cases, but extremity, that life almost isn't worth living without those highs, those real highs, and having those huge moments, whereas you have a lot of other people that are a lot more accustomed to perhaps just a bit more balance in life. And like the smaller things are things that they find, joy in. And so for me, I started to feel those things probably about 2 years before my first was born. And I think around the pandemic, I started to realize that if it wasn't alcohol or it wasn't, whatever it might be, it was exercise. And sometimes I would go into exercise and I would sort of lose myself in it, and really, really go so far with it that I would almost not necessarily burn out, but I would just get to a stage where I would be like, this isn't actually that healthy for me anymore. I'm all for the enjoyment, and and looking after yourself, absolutely. But again, this relates, if I divert, it relates to sports people, and not necessarily top athletes, but people who consider themselves as athletes. And what it is that is behind getting to those places, because I know from myself, when I'm in those states where I get really good running times and I'm really in it and I'm going for it, there's times almost where I just become fixated. And the problem is that I lose myself in it too much. And it almost, there is a line where you go over where it becomes so much part of your identity that certain other things might fall by the wayside. And as hard as it is to keep balance, I think there are certain types of people that perhaps take things like exercise and they go, right, okay, this is great. This is good. I'm with a good community. Yeah, perfect. I'm feeling great. But they almost become a bit of a slave to it. That buzz, that certain thing, that makes them feel right, that makes them feel good. And I, again, as a subject, I don't think that's talked about enough. That it's all very well going, in terms of obesity, we have a huge obesity issue. Absolutely, we do, both in America, but also in the UK. And it's great to see when people are able to take control of their lives and go with it with healthy eating and exercise. But then it's almost like sometimes the momentum swings too much and they get so fixated and lost in that world that although physically, they might be in a very good shape, mentally it might not be the best place for them, or if things go a certain way that they might crash, and then it's like, where do they go from there? Do you know what I mean? It's yeah, I know I've gone on a bit of a tangent, but
no, you're good. You didn't ask, but I'm going to stick. I don't have a formal blog. I have an email blog with the people. There's people of this world that want to maximize the human existence that are ever curious. And there's people of this world that don't want to change anything. So I've got just a few of my better thinkers. So I'll throw you on there, but it's something I've been wrestling with this very topic hard and fast. And so before I get into my theology, which nobody cares, this is supposed to be about you, but the two things, would you say for yourself, I haven't heard you say, hey, I've like completely decoupled myself from my obsessions. I'm just running this unbridled race and I'm in this beautiful space. Would you say that you have decoupled yourself from all these idols and these things that you've built up, or you're working on decoupling yourself? Like, are you free?
Oh, no.
Are you free to run? You're like free to run.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah. Do you mean in terms of like addiction issues and things like that? Or
no, I would say more societally, right? So I think like when you break the mold entirely is when you're like, hey, like life is good. Life is amazing. I cherish every day and I'm ready to die tomorrow, right? That's like a very strong statement that not many people can make, is like, I love my life. I love everything about my life. I love who I am. I love how I live. Not to say that we don't have struggles, right? But like this, I call it kind of the enlightened state. They talk about the flow state. I used to say things like heaven on earth, but that makes my Christian brethren and sister mad. So like I call it like the euphoric state of being. Would you say that is something you have uncovered?
At times, I have moments where I feel like that. And I think I do my best to remind myself at times of how good things are and how bloody lucky I am, with so many things. And I regularly try to remind myself of the things that I'm grateful for in my life. And there's so many things, my God, there really are, And so in those moments where I start thinking, oh, I wish I could be doing that. I wish I could be doing this, with voiceover work, with, any creative industry, there's always going to be things along the way where you're like, this is great what I'm doing, but it's not that. It's always this grass is greener thing. It becomes a comparison issue, which I'm sure everybody does, but it is just so important to just take a moment to go, all right, particularly when the kids are really, it's bloody hard with the kids at times. My wife had to work away for a few weeks a while ago, so I had to take care of both of them, solo parenting whilst also running a business. It's really, really tough. But even in those moments where it's like, oh gosh, I wish I was just, wish I had my old life in ways, the time, the space to sleep, rather than getting regularly 2-3 hours of sleep, all that kind of stuff. There's just moments where it's important to go, this is amazing. And it's amazing. I know deep down it's amazing, and I'm very, very grateful for it. So I'm doing a lot more of that, and I'm having more moments. I think sometimes you just need the space as well to be able to do that and go, okay, just take a moment, really breathe it in and go, wow, okay, this is where I've ended up so far in my life. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? And I am satisfied.
Did I miss it? You said solo parenting. Are you not married? I thought you were married. You're married.
I am married, but my wife, she was working. She comes from an acting background, but she does a lot of puppeteering and voiceover work. And so she got a very last minute gig working with Disney, promoting their Fantastic Four film. And she was puppeteering the robot that's in a Fantastic Four for their premieres, for all of the promotional side of things, over the few weeks before release. So she was away and she had to go for it. I wanted to go for it because she'd had 2 years basically being a mum, and she loves that. But also there was a part of her that just wondered, whether she could still do things, and she definitely can. She's an incredibly talented, wonderful woman. So it was great to see her really thrive and love something like that again. So she went away for a few weeks, and it was then up to me mainly to take the reins, which was a real experience. And I've got a huge amount of respect for people that solo parent. My God, that's unreal.
So there's like 16 ways I want to go, and I don't want to be respectful of your time that I was already late for. So the two things I want to be focused on you, but your sister's story is really interesting to me, and I'm going to pull it back. So what do you believe in? Can I ask? Because I get into a lot of religious theology. Do you mind me asking, putting you on the spot? Also, anytime you're like, hey, dude, I'm not comfortable with that, we don't go there. So I just want to be very clear, particularly online. So if you're like, hey, I don't want to talk about my interpersonal spiritual life online, that's fair, dude. But I'm very interested where you shake out. And I want to be very, very clear. I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus, but I don't care. I'm very accepting, tolerant, and I think everybody should be believing in something, and maybe not. I'm dying to talk to atheists. So you might be my atheist buddy. We might have to do an atheist. So I just want you to feel very comfortable to talk about it, or very comfortable to say, I don't want to talk about it.
I'm happy to talk about it. For me, I would put myself somewhere between an atheist and an agnostic. I think for me, probably, I've had moments where I've felt something close to what I believe others might call God. And I don't know what that is. And I don't necessarily I don't label it that.
It's still what I mean? It's an active inquiry. Is that what that would you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
100%, because I think in this world I'm very, very hesitant to say that spiritually there is nothing. Atheistically, this is it and that is it, and there's just too much going on in this universe. And I'm not saying that necessarily there is someone puppeteering the whole experience, but there's moments, I did, I've done quite a lot of meditation, and I went on a what some might call a secular atheist meditation retreat called Vipassana. And I did that for 10 days.
Spell that for me. Yeah. Is that a above board everybody can go, or that's a underground?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Vipassana, I think, is, I'm just going to very quickly check the spelling, but I think it's VIPASSANA.
Okay, cool. I want to look it up.
Yeah.
So it's an atheist retreat. Is that what you said? An atheist meditation.
It's billed as something that no matter what religion you are connected to,
got it,
whether you have a religion or not, you can use this as a way of basically connecting to the happiest part of your life, and basically peace, sort of removing yourself from suffering, which is very much connected to Buddhism. It comes from Buddhism.
Yeah. I think Buddhists get it most right. I think Buddhists get it most right.
Yeah.
But do you have any, it's the most interesting religion to me, because it is a religion, atheism. If you have any agnostics or atheist spiritual teachers that you could get on with me, that would be really huge. Just as like I just like, particularly the anxious belief in nothing. That's the one to me. And I don't mean to say it that way. I know it's not that, but it's become, and the anti-religion sentiment I totally get. But really quick, so I want to talk about voiceovers. I want to talk about puppeteering. I want to talk about authenticity. And we only got 15, 20 minutes left. So I want to be respectful of your time. But really quick, I made a commitment to my boys and to the Lord that I wouldn't miss an opportunity to pray. Do you mind if I just pray for your sister really quick? Do you mind if we do that?
Of course.
Is it okay if we say her name? I know you said or give me an alias.
Okay. No, Haley. Yeah.
Okay.
Haley.
Cool, man. And it's not uncomfortable for you. I don't ever want to make somebody uncomfortable with. All right, sweet. We're just gonna talk to the big man because I believe he's real. So, if that's cool. Hey, Jesus. I really appreciate you bringing Stephen into my life. I appreciate the ordination of this conversation, Lord. As we've been pressing into you, I find that your realness only becomes more real, Lord. I just pray in earnest that you would reveal yourself to Haley, that you would remind her who she is, and that you would rid her of this idea that she needs alcohol, Lord, that alcohol satisfies her, that alcohol fills her cup, Lord, that you would remind her that she's your precious daughter and that you love her, and that the world sees her as more beautiful than she sees herself, Lord. I just pray that you would stir about in her, Lord, that you would reveal yourself to her, that she would come to know you, that she would delete alcohol, and that she would go on to live an abundant life, Lord. I believe that you can do that. And I pray that as you do that, you reveal yourself to Stephen, Lord, this magnificent man. I pray that he would come to know you too, Lord. And I condemn every Christian that made the faith unattractive to these people, Lord. And I hope that you can bring them in the fold, that they can know you and live life to the full. So we thank you for the God that you are. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Shameless plug. I think you should get to know Jesus. He's fucking badass. But I don't blame you for not wanting to get involved with the church. It's like my big campaign is like, it's ugly, man. It's like ugly. But if Haley wakes up and is not an alcoholic, you have to read your Bible. That's the deal. We're making a deal.
Okay.
He defeats it.
Okay.
He defeats it in the next 2 weeks. I'm saying the dude's real. If not, maybe I'll go Buddhist. I'm kidding. I don't know, man. I don't know how that all works, but I made a commitment that I wouldn't miss an opportunity to pray for anybody. And I was like, dude, she just, you hit me right in the heart with that. So thank you for letting me do that awkward moment on air.
No, not at all. Thank you.
You do have to let me know what happens though, because I'm dying to know. I seriously believe humans have, like we just talked about, like dude did a 400-day fast. Like humans have the ability to like work miracles if only they believe that they do. So it's like, what does that look like? So I believe in Haley and I believe in Jesus, and it'll be really cool to see if something. And
she's doing great. I mean, God, she's been sober for 2 years. Over 2 years.
She's already beat it.
Well, yeah, I think you never beat it, but. But
I guess I should have.
She's done incredibly well. Incredibly.
How long?
No, that's okay. Just over 2 years.
Oh, sure.
But it's one of those things, and I think that she's gone to 12-step programs, and she's had to contemplate on religion, and I think she's probably in a similar boat to myself, where there is something there, but
I would normally be ashamed. But I don't have any shame. I felt prompted to pray. So we'll see if something happens. If nothing happens, then I'm just a heretical, I'm just a heretic. So I apologize, man. I should have asked better questions. I thought you said she was actively dealing with
No. Yeah. Well, to be honest, I appreciate it all the same. And just giving blessings and giving your time and your energy towards someone. And funny enough, I had an email from we were talking about Sam Harris.
You know him?
About I don't know Sam. No, I wish.
Dude,
I wish.
I want to talk to him so bad. He's top on my list. I think
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely,
he's top on my.
absolutely incredible, man. But yeah, I'm joined up with his Waking Up app, and I got an email about something called Meta Love, which is the idea of it's thousands of years old, but it's almost a version of prayer, but it's a meditation, and the idea is that you meditate on the idea of wishing nothing but compassion and a removal of suffering for whoever it is that pops into your mind, but also all sentient beings. And what that does for you as a person is unbelievable.
I just,
Unbelievable. You know?
and I hope I can send this to him, but as long as he's praying that prayer for Donald Trump, then he's in a good spot. He freaking hates, he can't see past the
Yeah, I
rest.
know.
He
I know.
freaking hates the Donald. But it's,
I know.
it's
Yeah.
like his one blind
Yeah.
spot, dude. It's like his one blind spot. I don't mean to say it that way. Like, I think he's brilliant. He's one of the most, like, it's all the stuff he's doing is great. He's super mindful, but it's like, bro, when you start opening your mouth, talk about Trump, nobody listens. Nobody listens other than the people that like agree with your opinion. Like you're coming off as stupid, man. I mean, and you're brilliant. So stop, like, try it from a different angle. Sorry. I really want, and it's selfish because I think he's very good. Like, he's one of the most mindful people. I said that, but it's like, I want to understand his side of the Trump, like this dude is Hitler himself, right? But I can't listen to him. I can't listen to him because there's no reasonable consideration. There's no curious consciousness. He like shuts it off. I don't understand, as such a mindful guy, why it's like, dude, you could do a lot for this discourse if you, anyway, Sam, if you're listening, you're part of why I created this podcast, because I didn't have enough followers for you to answer my solicitation. I tried to advertise on your podcast, which I had no interest in. I just wanted to talk to you so that I didn't have to go launch my own podcast. And here we are, dog. So let me in, dog. Let me in. And we see the world completely different politically, but back to you. Sorry, man.
That's all right. Hey, no worries.
Sam would love to make fun of me for praying right there, I'm sure. So, and I am a big boy and I can take it. But so talk to me about like, I love that it's called puppeteering. I love that it's called voice activate,
voice acting. Yeah.
Voice acting. But before you do, I think it's important, like, you started your own business. Like, would you be, on the spectrum, right? And so we're gonna put the 1% of people out of consideration. So we're gonna put the billionaires out, and we're gonna put the, like, can't eat and I'm starving out. And we've got this spectrum of the normal human. Like, you've obviously, I'm assuming, and I think it's important to the audience to know, like, have you beat the system? Like, you own a house, so that's like very like, I don't know, like, I would consider myself very, very uniquely blessed, right? I would be in the top 10% of comfort. So I'm arrogant to say that. I don't really care. I think it's important for people to know. Like, I don't have to work. I could sell the business if I wanted to, and then I probably wouldn't have to work again. And that's where I sit. I don't know if you're comfortable kind of speaking to your class so that we can relate to you as you come on and all that. If that's in play again.
Yeah. No. I can say that we're comfortable. That is it. Like, I mean, I've got a house, a beautiful house, and I by doing the kind of work that I do, I earn enough now that, me and my family can just, live comfortably, and that's all really that we've ever wanted, both me and Sam. In time, I'd love to be able to build something even further, and, build more, or look into, building more money and stuff like that. But ultimately, we both come from a creative background, and really for us, the reason why we went into that industry was the passion for something that we did. And so I think through voiceover, I've realized that I've managed to work out a way in which I can do something that I'm really passionate about and be creative with, whilst at the same time able to take care of a family. But I know I'm very fortunate because of our backgrounds, so, like, with my family, I come from a stable family. Sam came with a stable family as well. We were able to build, and get to a place where where we can live the kind of life that we want to live. So we know that we're incredibly lucky, but at the same time, I put in a good amount of work. Well, that's an understatement. I put in a lot of work, but for me, if I decided to stop all of this now, we would be okay. We'd be fine.
Oh, really? So you built. So you did. I'm going to say this for, if you don't mind, you'll have to come on again. You're going to come on again. So you built a business, correct? You have a voiceover business or no?
As a freelancer.
Okay,
yes,
freelance.
But
good. And you said something that's really key to me is like, you don't have to I'm building this as we go, right? Because it's so uncomfortable. Nobody wants to talk about how wealthy, it's very uncomfortable, but it's like, I think what we spoke to is the struggle, right? And there's varying levels of struggle. And so I kicked out the people that we just need to give a chance to, right? They can't eat, they don't have a home. That's like, and I'm putting us on the norm, like, and I don't want to say this, struggle is normal, but the distribution of like, I have a home, I can eat. And so there's like, I feel like there's those of us that graduate from the struggle and not so much. And that is not to say financially. It's like, I don't struggle. Like I just live every day and I'm comfortable with what I have. And then anyway, so I'm building this as I go, but you have beat the struggle, both financially and mentally is what it sounds like. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the mental side has been harder. It's been a harder thing to do in terms of realizing that you don't have to, you're in a place where you don't have to stress. And I think I had, you talk about reformations. I had that at the very beginning when my first daughter came along, because I think I was brought up from a working class background. And the idea is that when a little one comes along, you work every hour under the sun in order to make sure that they have everything that they need. But I'm in a position where I am working and I'm doing stuff and everything is absolutely fine. And I think those two, almost like a pre-existing idea of working 9 to 5 or working, like, as I said, as many hours as possible against what I'm doing at the moment, which is freelance, which is, suddenly at the drop of a hat, I've got loads of stuff to come in, that I have to work on, as opposed to, the previous. That was very hard for me. And it was realizing that no, like mentally, it's okay. I am all right. Yeah. We are never going to be in a position where I'm going to be out in the streets or I'm going to starve. Like that's not going to happen, that's huge.
And I'm not fast forwarding because we have, I guess I am fast. There's nothing I'd rather not fast forward than this. But I want to be respectful of your time, which I did not do that earlier, and I apologize. But I just want to say one thing. If anybody feels marginalized by what I said, it's quite the opposite. Like the lower threshold that I'm talking about is like we on the upper threshold owe it to society to go there and eradicate that unequivocally. For me, the more interesting piece of this is like what you're talking about is like everybody's struggling. And I've watched the struggle. Like I've watched a pastor, legit. I've watched a pastor on $50,000 become a multimillionaire through real estate investments and live free. His whole goal was that his wife didn't have to work, and he did that, right? And then I've watched the other side of this multiple times where people amass wealth well beyond where I am, and they're still on the struggle bus. You know what I mean? Like mentally need more, want more, in strife, want to be with my families, but got to work, right? And so, truly, if I do nothing else in the world, would be to help remind people that like life doesn't have to be painful. Like life doesn't have. So I think you and I can get into that later. But and actually, yeah, that's fine. I would love to future episode with Stephen and Kevin would be the human existence versus struggle. And then your business. I really want to talk about your business if you don't mind, because I think that, of course, like that's why this is an EFE, like extreme fringe enthusiast, is like you found something you love and you're making money doing it and you found freedom. And like, I have a dream. I have a dream that everybody can find freedom. Like I truly like freedom of thought, freedom of movement, freedom of maneuver. And it's like, I know that somebody's going to listen to this that's like struggling to eat and like they need to worry about it, right? If their boss fires them, right? anyway, I hear you, I see you, and we're coming. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, that's what this is for me, is like that. Like, the restoration of the middle class is everything to me. It's like the backbone of society, for freaking crying out loud. And I don't know. I don't know why there hasn't been a concerted effort towards it. I don't know why. I have my theories. We can get into that. But like, I just, it's very important. As I said, I'm a top 10%, or don't have to work, whatever. I worked really hard to get where I am. I'm sure you did as well. And we can talk about that later. We're not going to have time. We're not going to have time on this episode unless you have all day, because I can just roll.
No, I've got other things, other bits that I need to do, but otherwise I would have done, absolutely.
Yeah, no. So we'll book it again. I think the one. Do you have time, or do you need to go? Are we?
I've got like 10 minutes.
Okay,
if that's okay.
The one thing I just like. So when I hear, so this is there's certain. I have a disposition towards insurance professionals, lawyers, and politicians. That is, I don't trust you. Right. I trust most people, but right out of the gate, and I have lawyers in my circle that I trust. I love them. They're good people. It's not that I can't trust you. It's that, generally speaking, lack of integrity is part of your job in some form or fashion. Right. And I'm sorry to my insurance friends. I'm sorry. I'm calling a spade a spade. You know why I have this disposition, and it's not my doing, but you're invited. Acting somewhat is kind of, it's kind of like, magicians, right? I don't know if I can't remember. What's that movie? Do you know that movie? The Christian Bale's in it. Oh my God.
The Illusionist.
The Illusionist. Yeah. Right. Magicians are like, incentivized. And then we have Oz the Mentalist, who I think's a hero. Oz, if you'd come talk to me, that'd be super cool, dude. I think you're underperforming. Just so you know, the greatest mentalist of all time, I'm going to call him an underperformer, and I'd love to tell him why. But for you, acting is one of those, I'd put it, and generally, just to be clear, I assume good intent. I think everybody should assume good intent when I meet somebody. I assume that they're full of love, compassion, and joy, not evil, malicious. And like, I can walk through life very unguarded because of that. And like, I think everybody should take that disposition, but who am I to tell them? But generally, those three, I have a, I don't know about you. Acting kind of the same, right? You hear about all the evil in Hollywood, and you feel, so how do you balance, like, a big thing that I'm bit, like, authenticity. Like, we can't do it very well. Society sucks at authenticity. So how do you balance that? You seem like you're a guy that really desires authenticity in conversation in this kind of next phase for you. And like, your profession is becoming something that you're not, right? All the time, almost. You have to take an identity and become it, right? Or am I don't know shit about shit when it comes to voice acting. So feel free to be
No.
Explain the profession to me.
No. So a lot of the time, it very much depends on what part of the industry you're working in within voiceover. So if it's a commercial's the same whether you're an actor or a voice actor. You are there to help provide authenticity for a service. It's sales, it's advertising. But then you get the other side of it where it's, video game work, where it's animation. And this is much more, I would say, your traditional creative aspect, where people have an idea of a story or a concept, and you're helping to fulfill a vision. You are with advertising, commercials, but with this, it's more to an endeavor of connecting with people and entertaining, and so that's something for me that that saves me a little bit with this work. And I think a lot of voice actors would probably say the same. Not all of them. Some people will specialize in, perhaps more corporate work or commercial work, which is great. And traditionally, that's where a lot of the more well-paid work is. But I think in an ideal world, a majority of people would like a balance. And for me, I think with AI coming and stuff like that, where it's already here, but the way that it's progressing, I think that particularly corporate work, I think we're already starting to see a good chunk of that being taken up by AI. And I think what will happen eventually, if not, it's already happening now, is people are crying out for authenticity in all parts of society. And I think that with AI getting stronger and stronger, I think people will look to whatever avenue it is where they can find people, whether they're voice actors or not, who are going to tell them what as close to the truth as possible, or a point of view which is truthful, which isn't being, sort of manipulated by, particular other factors. It's something that I think we're all struggling with. And I think that, with my work, what I really enjoy is playing characters truthfully, because I feel like when I do that, when I'm really in there, when I'm really, really committing to a role, I don't think of anything else, and I am completely there. And I feel that, what I mentioned before about something to do with God, that energy, that something that I can't quite put my finger on. Sometimes I get that feeling where it's just, you're just so present, and there's something going on in there. And for me, if I'm able to do that and someone else is able to connect with me in that way, then that's amazing. That is magic. That's magic right there. With acting, I always struggled with acting because I felt like, I don't know whether through perhaps like slight anxiety or nerves, with a camera on me, particularly with TV and film, I always felt a little bit inhibited. Whereas with voiceover work, most of the time I'm here in a booth and it's me on my own, and I'm able to pull all the kind of faces that I want, and scream my head off and act like a complete madman. But I'm here, and I have no inhibitions. And I think I've developed my confidence over time so that I can now, no matter who's on the line, whatever client I'm with, no matter how successful or not, I can be authentic. And I'm very much more of the opinion of like, I know that I have something to give. And if this isn't right, okay, that's fine. No problem. Whereas with acting, I would always feel like, I didn't hold necessarily any sort of power. And that was always having to sort of meet their needs and try my best to just try and get the job and do what I can. And usually that would leave me, with very little self-worth, I think. And it's something that I'm sure all creatives struggle with, trying to build a life where you're constantly being rejected. That's tough. That is really, really tough. No matter how good you are, it always keeps coming. But for some people, they're able to find a way in which they can just continue and just feel that their worth isn't necessarily based on all of those rejections. And so for me, doing something like this, I love voice acting. I absolutely love it. And it's great for me. And I really enjoy connecting with people and seeing what joy people get from it, making people laugh, by doing work. That's great. I really get a buzz from that. But I also get a buzz from the kind of stuff that we're talking about, which is connecting with people without that performative side, and really trying to get to the crux of like who people are and get a real sense of perhaps two people connecting, on a deeper level. So yeah, that's my waffle.
Yeah, no, and I know you got to go, so I just would say, so Gary Vee put a post up saying like the attention, the currency of tomorrow is attention, and I've challenged him, and I've been challenging him. That was yesterday's game, brother. That was yesterday's game, and it's exhausted. The future game is those of us that can be authentic. I guarantee the most popular among us in the next decade are those that are real, because people are tired of the put on. People are so tired of it, and genuine, sincere authenticity. It's uncomfortable because it's so rare. Nobody knows how to do it. Nobody anyway, Gary Vee, would love to chat with you, dog. It's not attention. Attention's over. That everybody's been captured and all of that. I think that, not to say that it's ending, but it's going to deplete in favor of the real people. I truly believe the people that aren't bearding themselves with a bunch of branding, the people that are just authentically real people. And I think we can witness this. Like, Sean Ryan is not the greatest conversationalist, has a top 10% podcast. Why? He's just an authentic dude. Joe Rogan, why is he successful? Authentically curious. That's what people want to see. They don't want an agenda. They don't want to put on. They just want to talk to real people, having real conversations, and like going through real life, talking about real life in a real way. And like, hey, anyway, that's my sermon. Just for you and your wife, if we wanted, it sounds like you do it on the commercial side, but your greatest work, if we could go find, because you're the voice behind things that nobody knows, right? Are you allowed to peel the veil back? Can we if we want?
Yeah, sure.
What's your favorite? Sure. What's your proudest piece?
Well, there's a role that I'm still performing now for. There's a video game called Skull and Bones, which is by a company called Ubisoft, and Ubisoft. I grew up playing their games. They're behind titles like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
they're a huge company, multinational company, and I played one of the recurring roles in that game, and it's been about 6 years that I've kept coming back. For whatever reason, they just keep wanting me to come back and
Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones, yeah. So it's a pirate themed video game.
No way, dude. And that's the Ubisoft. So you work for Ubisoft?
Ubisoft, yeah.
Ubisoft. They're not Halo, are they? Are they Halo? They're not called. Were they Call of Duty at any time? I know that changes hands.
I don't think they were Halo.
No. Okay, but they're Assassin's Creed. So these guys are the bigs.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like this game was considered the first, what they call like a quadruple A video game. Triple A game tends to be the big bucks, the GTAs, all of that. Whereas this one, when it came, it was, because of the amount of time and effort and money that was put into it, it was considered like the first of a new level. And it's still going on now, and like I said, I think I'm in again pretty soon to carry on with the same character. But yeah, they've done all sorts. Rainbow Six, which was huge back in the day.
I knew I played something from
they're a massive company. For me, that was great.
Can you get somebody? Would somebody talk to me about the business side of video games? Because I think video games are like one of the most misunderstood industries.
Of course.
Do you mind connecting me? I really. There's capture in it, but there's also good in it. And then there's like this idea, like, I don't know if you're familiar with the statistic, but the physicians that play video games, like I'm going to booger this. So somebody edit this and give me the truth. But like the general idea was that the, surgeons in training who had played video games performed 30% better than those that hadn't, because they had better hand-eye coordination and all. So there's there is some developmental benefit to playing video games. And I think generally, like my wife gets this. I don't game. I actually want to start gaming again to get my creative juices going. I think it's good. It's weird, but I would love to explore that, because I think it's also, there's an inherent evilness to it, right? When you get kids stuck on video games all the time, right? So
100%. Yeah.
So if you have anybody at Ubisoft or anybody in your network that could come and talk about the bit, I would love to explore that passion, that business, the goods and the bads and the uglies. If we could, that would be really awesome. If you don't mind tapping the network for me.
Of course. Yeah. I'd be more than happy to.
Sweet, dude.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the journey. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I've got literally 4 of our next episodes together. I hope that's okay.
Amazing.
If you're down to come chat with me some more. I want to talk about the human existence. I really want to drill into this struggle versus human existence. I really want to talk about your business and how it came to be, freelancing, if you don't mind. I want to dig in farther about this. Like you said something about authenticity as a currency, I think, or as and then versus kind of taking on the identity. I wanted to drill in. We didn't get there. And then video games would be awesome. I don't know what your perspective on that is. And finally, the character of the Joker. What was the actor's name? The guy that killed himself?
Heath Ledger.
I would love to talk about that with you, because what a travesty that is. I'm curious if
of course.
So we have much to get into. Thanks for answering the call. I don't think it was a coincidence myself, but so I think you're here for a reason. For those of us that believe in God, maybe that's a thing. I apologize for praying over Haley that didn't need prayer over, but I suspect that something might move because of it. So whatever that is, keep me in tune, would you?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
But we retitled all of our stuff. So we're 25 episodes in. We just did a big drop and I'm going to start promoting as of like 1 episode ago. So I think this is like, I don't know what this is, 26, 20, whatever. But it's better questions, right? And what is the question that we answered today? And this is something that now twice I've had to sit, and I can't. Normally I can come up with it right off the rip, but the question I would answer today is like, what does it look like to do a deal without a contract? There you go. What does it look like to do a deal without a contract? That's really what today's purpose was, and we ended up talking about a second question is. Who is Steven? So who is Steven, and what does a contract look like without a contract? That's the question. So great conversation with Steven. As I think he's a fascinating guy. I think he's still wrestling with some things that he may or may not know. I suspect that he's going to come to know some version of God. Maybe that's me being administering my will. But I think there's more meat on that bone for that man, and many. I think his story's powerful. I think someday I'm going to talk to Haley. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you, the listener, for making this thing come to life. And thanks for joining us in this little movement to like do podcasting a little different. So each of you is important to me. I do want to hear from you guys. So the comments are important. Fill out the survey. If you liked it, maybe you could share it with your friend. I hate to ask you to do that. It's so cringy. I freaking hate when people ask. I want what this stands for to be normal. Authenticity being tantamount above that. Tantamount. I screwed up my words. Authenticity is hugely important to me. I think common sense thinking is hugely important to me. So that's what this stands for. So if you're supporting this, you're supporting that, and you're supporting me. So thank you. Pineapple Productions. Appreciate you guys for keeping us rolling, and we'll see you next time.